Welcome back, viewers, to the AI Chefs. We are here in our deluxe studio. Looking good?
Well, and it's always a pleasure to be back in this AI kitchen with you, David. So this is the highlight of my week, and so yeah, so I'm happy to be here.
I keep wanting to say it's magic, but it's just science. It's all science. It's all AI, and AI is just science. That's how we keep the
Yeah,
hats on our
indeed.
head.
It is, and it's like cooking. Cooking is science. AI is science, and science is wonderful
Yeah.
most of the time.
Actually, that ties into my first tip. There's a song called "The Sounds of Science" on an album called Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys.
Okay.
And there's another song on that album called Beastie Boy Bouillabaisse, which is
Ah,
where I became familiar with the term bouillabaisse. It's a
which is a
food.
fun word to say. That's what you're saying,
Yeah.
bully.
I,
It's an interesting word to say.
I don't think I'm saying it right. I think it requires more linguistical skills. I think there's a little, might be some French involved or something. I don't know.
Well, I do think it's French,
Something.
and I also know language skills, as my wife constantly reminds me, is not something that I'm good at. So she's
Uh,
Italian, and any attempts at speaking Italian, I fail miserably. Uh, so I think you're saying it fantastically.
yeah, my Italian accent is an international hate crime. I'm not allowed to do it. Uh, but bouillabaisse, what it is it's a dish. It's like a fish soup, but it has at least four or five different kinds of fish, and it can
Mm,
have like mussels and mollusks and octopus and all sorts of different ingredients, and they're not all, it all comes together to make one flavor. Each ingredient still has its own flavor and taste. There's a
okay.
lot. You're throwing a lot of stuff at the consumer, at the restaurateur as a chef, but each thing is still has its own power. And the song "B-Boy Bouillabaisse" is somewhat like that. It's a 15 to 20-minute song, but it's a bunch of really short little songs that flow into each other. They work together, but each one is a completely separate song. It's like songs they just didn't want to finish or whatever, but it works together. It's brilliant. And it's an homage to one of my favorite albums of all time, Abbey Road, the
Mm,
last thing the Beatles did together.
right.
And the second half of Abbey Road, the Abbey Road melody, is famous for being a bunch of songs that they, little 2-minute things, Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pan, and they all blend together, they all flow together, but each one is its own distinct flavor and taste. It's a
Okay.
bouillabaisse song.
Bouillabaisse. Okay, so I'm fascinated to hear how this is going to transition into an AI tip.
Yeah, I mean, the short version is I threw a bouillabaisse at ChatGPT, and it was able to pick out the flavors and give me what I needed.
Okay.
That's like the too long didn't read, because I tell a long story sometimes. This is already getting long, so I'm going to give the reader a break. But really first, on the way there, I used your tip from last week, the amuse bouche.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
because
There you go.
for viewers who didn't see last week's tip, last week Kevin's tip was when you ask AI to do something, say, I want you to make a PowerPoint. Before you make it for me, ask me any questions you need to do a better job. And
Right.
ChatGPT comes back and says, oh, well, what's it about? What do you want to, what's your intended audience? And sometimes the question's like, oh, what is my intended audience? I'm glad you asked that. Now I'm going to make a better presentation. So
Right.
I took this to the next level. When I gave my cue to ChatGPT, I didn't give it enough information to do the job. I forced it to amuse bouche at me. I forced it.
Oh, very good. Well,
I
yes.
so and to give context, and this is kind of embarrassing and crazy. And so I was just at Zoomtopia, and we had some
Okay.
one-on-ones with the execs. And what you're supposed to do is say, oh, so one-on-ones with the execs. Give me some more detailed information on your strategy moving forward with this and that. Can you share your numbers on contact center? I pitch ideas at them like in a candy store. Like, am I like at the Willy Wonka factory? Could you make a chocolate bar with peanut butter inside? I mean, I'm just like, and there's an idea that I've had for a long time, very serious about. A new type of online community would be called Zoom communities. Basically, we'd use the Discord workflow. Discord has this community chat. It's not team chat, it's community chat, but it's for gamers. And there's a
Right.
gap in the market. There needs to be Discord for business, and I think Zoom should make it, and it would be cool. So I talked to them about it. They're like, they weren't like, leave us alone. They were like,
Oh,
okay,
that's good. That's good. They didn't kick
yeah.
you out.
No, they're like actually flesh that out. Maybe we can use some of the features as part of team chat. Maybe it is something we can do. It's interesting to them. And it would be business to customer, B2C communities. It's
Right.
not Reddit where it'd be a rock and roll community. It'd be Fender guitars. It'd be Coca-Cola. It'd be Zoom. So I went to ChatGPT and I amuse-bouched it first. I said, I got
Okay.
back from Zoomtopia and I spoke with Zoom execs. This is
Yeah.
important to me. I pitched an idea, helped me make a presentation, and I didn't give it enough to work with.
Right.
So it came back and it said, I need to point my face to the microphone. AI does not help with that. To start with, what the heck are you talking about, David? Right? What good is it to Zoom? That's obviously great. What do you want to
That's a
highlight?
good. Yeah.
All right. So it really gave me a good amuse-bouche. And then here's why I hit it with the bouillabaisse. This is what I threw at it.
Oh wow, just lots. Yeah,
I
just like-
went nuts. And this was
Okay.
also a little bit of a rubber duck. Remember the rubber duck tip, which is you just
Yeah.
talk to ChatGPT to think. This helped me thought it out. So I explained, I was thinking about adding Discord's features to Team Chat, but now that I think about it, it should be its own thing. It should be called Zoom Communities. And here's where it got bouillabaisse. Halfway through
Yeah.
here, I had a moment of existential doubt and clarity. And I thought, oh my God, what kind of crazy long-haired idiot tries to tell Zoom what to do? They have people that are paid full-time to develop this. This is a stupid idea. I'm wasting my time. So I wanted to, and ChatGPT, everything is, you're a genius, David. This is a wonderful idea.
That's right. It's very, yes, you're right.
So I threw in a fish here and I said, out of nowhere, I said, I'm kind of surprised this doesn't exist. I don't think I'm crazy. Feel free to let me know if this is a bad idea. You will not hurt my feelings. You will be helping me. I threw this, and it's just random. It's not connected. And I just threw in this fish.
This is, very stream of consciousness. So this is a tough. This is not your classic like prompt. So it'll be So this
This
is a
is
bouillon.
nuts.
So,
If I used to be a personal assistant, well, sort of like as a assistant analyst for someone who would bouillabaisse me, they would just want a free thought come into my office and spew this at me. I'm like, I'm not a robot. I can't remember this. Give me a task. Tell me to summarize a document. Tell me to write an intro. I'm a human. This is the one thing that actually AI is better than human. It can remember 10 things at once. It can remember 1,000 things at once. It's just computing. For me, I would say, don't you dare do this to me. Give me a task. So anyway, I threw in this one little rotten fish. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
And then I went back to describing what I want, blah, 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 blah. And it immediately answered the most important thing, which is, no, David, you're not crazy. It's a good idea. There is a surprising gap in the market. Discord has the community workflow, but it's gamer centric, just like you said. Zoom. So maybe it's trying to make me happy, but I told it not to. But the fact that out of all the stuff, it picked out that one fish, and then it started helping me. He said, "Here, has he build a presentation?" And some of it I'm going to use, some of it I'm not going to use. I had a long conversation with it. It convinced me to set up a Discord as a demo. So then I talked about what I need to do with that Discord. So all in all, it was super helpful. But the point is, don't feel, and this is like a gumbo, which is more blended than a bouillabaisse. Don't feel afraid to throw a bouillabaisse at it. It will see every little octopus and every little fish in there.
Yeah, that's a great tip because I think like that stream of consciousness, like you don't, to your point, like with humans, I think we all try to organize our thoughts because we realize we will overwhelm them if we're totally scattered.
Can't do that to a person.
This is right, because they would be like, okay, yeah, as you said, it's like, no, tell me.
My boss is nuts. I quit.
But with Gen AI, that's, we've talked about before, it is supportive, but it also, to your point, David, can sort through the 10 or 50 different conflicting ideas. And clearly, in that case, it made sense out of it and helped you move forward. So what a fantastic recipe, Chef David. Well done.
Now I need to actually make that video because I'm talking about it here.
Oh, there you go. Now, now you're committed.
All right, so are we ready for our second recipe of the day? Kevin's recipe.
It is.
Chef Kevin.
So, yes. Well, thank you very much, Chef David. So here's the thing. I got to say, we've talked about Gen AI tips and we've done a bunch of things. And I'm going to say this blew me away. So I am interested for the feedback and the comments from both you and the audience here. So let's, I think I created a few slides. I couldn't come up with an idea, and I like alliteration. So if we bring up the first slide, I asked Gen AI to come up with some ideas. And so podcast Pâté, this is going to be about crafting smooth audio with Google's Gen AI Notebook LM. And so before we go and me explain what the heck that is, so let's talk about pâté. So pâté, at least according to Wikipedia, is a force meat, which I had never heard that term. Sadly, it has nothing to do with Star Wars. It seems to be a force meat is where you take like a lean meat and you combine it with fat and other seasonings. And you stuff it into something. So like a pâté, or think a sausage, right? And it seems like this has been around. The Romans knew about this. The actual term pâté, which is also French, seems to have come about in the 12th century. Originally, this meat fat concoction, was put into a pastry shell, and now it's more traditional to just put it in a tureen, like in other words, a fancy word for a bowl, and smush it up, right? So, and once again, it's meat and various ingredients, and so that is what a pâté is. But what is a podcast pâté? Well, here's this thing. Let's go. It's like, so none of the ingredients that's shown here, I don't think would go into a pâté. I don't know. But anyway, so what are the ingredients that I'm going to use for my podcast pâté? Well, let's go to the next slide, David. Like all good podcast pâtés, I'm like a Honda lawnmower manual. So here's the thing. I was trying to find, I'm going to talk about this Notebook LM. So I was trying to find a document that was, I don't know, sort of bland. And it turned out that like somebody was cutting the lawn while I was thinking about this, and I heard a lawnmower. I'm like, sure, I'll get this. Honda, and I said lawnmower manuals, and Honda just came up as the first one on my Google search. This is a 92-page PDF, okay? So now let's go on to the next slide. Notebook LM, it's experimental if you look in the upper left-hand corner. So Google has released this as an experimental tool. And this is how it works, and it blew my mind. You effectively take any content, and I took this 92-page PDF, lawnmower, you upload it to this notebook, and it gives you a summary, and you can ask questions about it. But that's kind of like a meeting transcript, right? But the cool thing is you can then ask it to generate a podcast from this. So here,
PDF podcast.
It created this in the upper right, you can see there's a 9-minute and 52-second podcast about the Honda mower manual. Here's the thing that blew my mind. These are not real people. This is all Gen AI. And if you play the audio, David, we won't play the whole 9 minutes and 52 seconds, but listen to the inflection and just take this in the richness of the Honda lawnmower manual.
All right, everyone, get ready, because today we are diving headfirst into something you might not expect, but something every homeowner should know, like the back of their hand, and that is the Honda lawnmower manual.
Yeah, we're going deep on this one, beyond just the basic stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought of myself as a pretty experienced mower guy, but just glancing through this manual, I'm already seeing things that I've been totally glossing over.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, for starters, the safety section.
Oh, yeah.
I usually just kind of skim over that, figuring I know the basics.
Right.
But Honda gets really specific. Like, they're not just saying, don't mow in flip-flops, though you really shouldn't do that.
Please don't.
Wow. So those aren't real. I mean, I know those aren't real people, but I'm kind of over getting fooled by AI, but I'm not over getting fooled by AI. Those seem like real people.
Well, and it's like the normal kind of like intimate back and forth of a podcast, right? I feel like this is the time, David, where we say, we're AI avatars, right? Right? Because, I mean, that dialogue was very casual. And I took, the source, I took like a lawnmower manual, right? So I tried to take a very dry source. I did as well, like Brett Kelly and I at the Enterprise Connect AI session, we delivered a 90-minute session on AI assistance. And somebody, Matt from No Jitter, was in the audience and used Otter, another AI tool, to do speech to text, and he sent us the transcript. I also uploaded the transcript for that 90-minute session, and it created a 22-minute podcast. And it was amazing to hear non-real voices, the guy and the girl,
Right.
bantering about the examples that we talked about. And in some ways, just their inflection and their, it was amazing. But I figured
you know
for
what
this,
it
I
is?
just wanted to take something dry, a lawnmower manual. So
yeah, it is the inflection. It's the vibe of it, because I'm used to AI voices sounding like Siri or
right.
Alexa. I'm so used to Siri or Alexa, whoever got paid to make the voices, and that was a woman they actually recorded to first do Siri and Alexa.
Yes, that is correct.
It's a very specific tone. You're welcome. Your alarm is set. And I expected this to be like that. The lawnmower is one of the best lawnmowers you can get for its value. To make sure that you're being safe, please read chapters 1 and 3. I expected it to sound like that, and it didn't. It didn't. It sounded like a podcast.
Well, yeah, no, and that was the thing. Like, it not only, so Gen AI there, which just like, this is why it just blew me away. It not only, digested those 92 pages of information, it then kind of, and clearly whatever Google's done, they've given it the pre-prompting or what have you to say, hey, I want to have this casual bantering, and they almost interrupt each other and they say, okay, yeah, what is that? That safety, okay, and they've done a really good job, right? So that is what, blew me away. I'm involved in an online discussion of, is Gen AI overhyped or not? And, clearly this is both a little bit, I played it for my adult daughter, and she said, I'm not sure how to feel about that, because podcasts feel like you're just, it is a little intimate, like you're hearing just the discussion like you and I are having here, right? We're just having this discussion. And then when you find out it's not real people, it's like you're not really sure how to feel about it. But they've done a terrific job.
I'm like excited about this. This is amazing. But I totally hate it.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want anyone watching this to think, wow, David's loving this. Look how excited he is about the fact that he can't tell whether it's a real person and that it has a cool vibe. Yeah, I'm excited about it, but I hate this. Maybe I shouldn't hate it. Should I hate this? It's a little scary.
Well,
I don't want to replace us. I want to make things easy for us. I want to give us ideas. I want it to make our virtual backgrounds. I don't want to replace us.
I know, but I think the thing is it's like all technology. It's the application of it. So, you used your Bouillabaisse. You were able to like throw a whole bunch of ideas at it, which, and it helped you. And so I think what I want people to take away from this is, we're still early days of Gen AI. And what we need to figure out is, where do you apply it so that the use case is valuable? Valuable from a business perspective, valuable from a human interaction or mental health or, perspective. And we're still figuring this out. And I'm sure that there will be poor applications of this, but I am hopeful that we will figure out collectively together, as we understand this, great ways to apply this. And this blew my mind, because this is where we are today. And, it's only going to get better. So I thought that this was a recipe that I was happy to share with the audience. Notebook LM, if you have a dry manual and you're in your car and you want to make a podcast to listen to, hey, this makes your lawnmower manual far more compelling. And I'm going to tell you, I like reading manuals, but most people are not going to read a 92-page lawnmower manual. And so maybe they'll miss some of the safety tips. So maybe this is actually helpful. Some people won't chop their toes off.
For academic stuff, for textbooks.
Right.
Even for white papers.
Yeah, anything that's dry.
I'd listen to a conversation about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is podcast Pâté.
Nice. I love it. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Are you going to be we're going to both be at WebEx1.
We are going to be both at WebEx1, and
It's
I'm
going to be
sure
a
that
lot of
will
AI
be,
discussion.
Yes, so there will be, and we can bring back to the kitchen some new, perhaps WebEx AI assistant recipes.
Not a bad idea. All right. So we'll see you all when we get back from WebEx1. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care.